Konami recently revealed the first full trailer for Silent Hill Townfall. It's a new Silent Hill game set in what appears to be Scotland by Screenburn Interactive, published by Annapurna. If you remember, if you've been following Silent Hill for a long time, this is the final game that was announced a couple of years ago when Konami released this kind of revitalization of the Silent Hill franchise. And like a lot of people, I had very mixed reactions to the trailer. While it looks really good and I am cautiously optimistic about what it's going to be like, I had this strange feeling of, is this really Silent Hill anymore? What is Silent Hill? As a, series, as a brand, like, what is it that makes Silent Hill Silent Hill? So I started thinking about it, and the result is this video that you're now watching. Silent Hill is something that has been close to my heart for a long time, but it's also something that I've had a lot of very mixed feelings about for a long time too. I think many people who consider themselves fans of Silent Hill, like me, have a kind of cut-off point where everybody says, yeah, I love Silent Hill, but what they mean is that they love Silent Hill 2, or they love Silent Hill 4, or, maybe they like some of the later games, but for the most part, everybody kind of agrees that there's a certain period where you just go, not really my thing. So with the Silent Hill franchise completely back as it is currently, I thought it was time to kind of take stock of what really makes Silent Hill Silent Hill. So that's the question that this video is looking to answer. What is Silent Hill? To answer this question, it's important to do a bit of a history lesson about Silent Hill as a series. A lot of you might know this already, so I'm going to try to do this as quickly as possible. Silent Hill starts with Silent Hill 1 on the PS1 in 1999. It was developed by a team called Team Silent, and it basically acted as a response to Capcom's Resident Evil 1. This is followed up by 3 games in pretty quick succession. You've got Silent Hill 2, 3, and 4. While they were developed by Team Silent, it's important to remember that Team Silent wasn't like a consistent group of individuals. Each game in the original, Silent Hill series was directed by a different person. A lot of the times, the people who worked on the previous game would kind of get promoted. There's a lot of mixing up and going on, but there are some key people in the teams. For example, Masahiro Ito doing the designs and Akira Yamaoka doing the music. These are what we think of when we think of Silent Hill. They kind of created the visual and stylistic sound that we associate with the series for pretty much the entire day up until now. And it's why when you look at a lot of the new Silent Hill projects, they make a big thing about Akira Yamaoka and Masahiro Ito being involved, because they are kind of the sole remaining people who still worked on those games. A lot of the other team members ended up moving on after Team Silent got disbanded after The Room, Silent Hill 4. Next, we enter kind of a strange time period for Silent Hill. Konami don't really seem to know what they want to do with it, so they kind of just ship it off to whoever they think wants it. We get games like Origins, which is a prequel, which is fine. Shattered Memories remaking 1, which was kind of bizarre but interesting. And then we get into the PS3 era. You get your Downpours, your Homecomings, where Konami basically gave the Silent Hill license to whoever wanted it. And Silent Hill hits this kind of peak level of oversaturation where you get the HD collection, which completely fails and is not particularly well received. You get all these movies. You have the Christoph Gans Silent Hill 1 movie and the incredibly terrible Silent Hill 3 movie, Revelations. And at this point, Silent Hill has kind of lost that prestige that it built up on the PS2 era and has kind of become a laughingstock. Nobody really likes any of these games. None of them go particularly well, and everybody kind of accepts that Silent Hill isn't what it used to be. The final nail in the coffin for Silent Hill is, of course, the entire PT debacle. Konami finally hand the keys of Silent Hill to somebody who actually knows what they're doing, and they give it to Kojima. He creates the PT playable teaser with this big reveal at the end that yes, he is making Silent Hills, a new Silent Hill game that will bring the franchise back to its roots. And then Konami and Kojima have this huge falling out. The game essentially disappears from records. They remove the PT playable teaser and nothing happens with Silent Hill for almost 10 years. I mean, you have to remember, I think we talk about PT a lot being this kind of turning point for the franchise, or turning point for games in general. Like, PT is incredibly important to this day. It was like 2013 when PT happened, and we don't get our next big Silent Hill game until really like 2020, 2021, and now we're only seeing these new kind of announcements happening. So the franchise kind of disappears for a while, becomes a running joke with, Pyramid Head pachinko machines and all the like. So then finally in 2023, Konami announced this huge, again, revitalization of the franchise, and it seems to be spearheaded by a producer called Motoi Okamoto. He seems to be the kind of key person behind pushing the franchise right now. And I think that's something I want to talk a lot about in this video, is this announcement that they did a couple of years ago has now almost entirely come out. You've got the initial announcement of Silent Hill F, which is the Ryakushio 7 game. You've got Silent Hill Ascension, which we'll talk about. You've got Return to Silent Hill, which is the Silent Hill 2 movie, which we'll also talk about, and Silent Hill Townfall. And the Silent Hill 2 remake, I think, was also announced at this, but either way, so you've got 3 games, one of which is a remake, one of which is out, one of which is not out just yet. You've got a movie and a interactive experience, whatever the hell Silent Hill Ascension was. And I think now is a good time to kind of take stock of where the franchise has gone, because I don't know if you've noticed from that list, pretty much everything except for Silent Hill 2 Remake and Silent Hill F has been a complete disaster. The Return to Silent Hill movie, directed by Christoph Gans, was completely critically panned. I haven't watched it yet. I probably will, unfortunately. And Silent Hill Ascension was an AI-generated mess, the developer of which just likes to spend time on Twitter arguing with people who say that he's a hack.
Now that you mention it, I have seen some strange things out in these woods. I've been rooting for berries and other things for several seasons now. I like to make jams.
And then when you look at who's actually developing this stuff, like, nothing has changed. Silent Hill is still just being given out to whoever. I mean, Bloober Team made Silent Hill 2 Remake, of course. You've got the team who made Silent Hill F, which mostly worked on like HD collections and kind of assisting developing for a lot of their runtime. This is kind of their first major project as far as I can see. Could be wrong on that. And then Silent Hill Townfall, which is again being developed by a Scottish development studio. So the tactic hasn't really changed. They're still just kind of giving out the keys to whoever wants it. They maybe are being a bit more selective now, which is good, but ultimately there's no in-house Silent Hill team anymore. There's nobody really developing the franchise. It seems like the main thing they have now is Motoi Okamoto, who seems to be kind of working as a kind of lore master, I suppose. And this can be kind of explained by another Silent Hill thing that I didn't mention there because it came out before all of this, was Silent Hill The Short Message, which, as far as I can see, was mainly spearheaded by Okamoto, and nobody really talks about The Short Message anymore. I'll be honest, I never played it. I should probably play it for, prosperity, but it was kind of, again, ignored, and it introduced the concept of the Silent Hill effect, which I think is essentially their way of going, we've written ourselves into a corner with this Silent Hill franchise where it's all related to this one town. We're now going to come up with a lore explanation for how you can basically set a Silent Hill game in any city you want. So as far as I remember, The Short Message is set in Germany, and this is essentially the precursor to Silent Hill F, Townfall, all of these games that are going to be set in somewhere that isn't America. Silent Hill, the town. So let's take a step back now after kind of that very brief overview of the franchise and talk about the actual question at hand here. So what is Silent Hill? Like, at its core, what is Silent Hill's identity? What makes Silent Hill Silent Hill? What makes it different from Resident Evil or any of these other franchises that have kind of existed for as long as Silent Hill has? So I've written some statements that I think we can kind of unpack and see if they even apply to Silent Hill, but they were the first kind of things that came to my mind when I thought about Silent Hill. The first statement, which is probably the most blunt and easiest to debunk, is that Silent Hill is a series of horror games set in the town of Silent Hill made by Konami. This statement is obviously not true now, but it's important to also talk about how this wasn't even really true ever. I mean, Silent Hill 1 and 2 set in Silent Hill. great. Different characters come along, things happen, it's spooky. The first half of Silent Hill 3 takes place in a completely different town, and Heather only returns to Silent Hill after her father is murdered. Silent Hill 4, similarly, is not set in Silent Hill either. Walter is using some sort of weird cult magic to essentially make Silent Hill appear in other places. What I do remember is that Henry isn't in Silent Hill for most of the game. It's actually more like a dream kind of scape made by Walter. So the later games kind of tried to keep the Silent Hill setting alive by bringing them back every time, but now Konami have just kind of dropped that. They've realized we've done all we can with Silent Hill as a town, we need to move on. So this statement no longer really works. Silent Hill is not about Silent Hill anymore. Silent Hill is a concept, it's a statement, it's not a place anymore. The actual physical town doesn't matter. Statement number 2, Silent Hill is a psychological horror series. This one is a bit more accurate. It's not necessarily entirely true. I mean, now we know Silent Hill as a psychological horror series because that's kind of all they've made. Something about being a Silent Hill fan that I've accepted over the years is that you go through kind of or at least I went through a roller coaster of emotions, where Silent Hill 2 is one of the best Silent Hill games. It's probably the best, not my personal favorite, but it is the best Silent Hill game. It is the game that made Silent Hill what it is. And the problem is, in the over 20 years since Silent Hill 2 came out, Konami have essentially tried to make Silent Hill 2 again, over and over again, to the point where you could argue that the worst thing that ever happened to this franchise was Silent Hill 2. It peaked there. It has never hit that height again when it comes to narrative and that fear, that real like horror and grossness that's in Silent Hill 2. All the things that made it great. They tried to do it with things like Homecoming and it was a complete disaster. But I think it's clear with the Silent Hill 2 remake and all the stuff we've seen from F and Townfall, this isn't going to change anytime soon. They're still going to keep chasing that Silent Hill 2 prestige. So Silent Hill is a psychological horror series. That seems to be a pretty good encapsulation of it. But it's very vague, you know? Like, everything is a psychological horror game now. I mean, Bloober Team made an entire career off of kind of copying PT. You know, like Layers of Fear is a psychological horror game that essentially just took PT and tried to expand on it. And now they're making Silent Hill games. And, you know, whatever about Bloober Team, this isn't going to turn into a video about them. There is clear evidence that they have improved over the years, so I'm not going to completely bash on them like other people might. But I feel like Silent Hill, when 2 came out, it was a very unique premise and it was a very unique game. But nowadays, with the way the horror game world is, I mean, everything's psychological horror now. It's not really unique anymore. Silent Hill has kind of been usurped by other franchises and games that came out while Silent Hill was dead, you know? Like, Silent Hill missed the entire boom of indie horror games in the mid to late 2010s. I don't know, I don't really want to say that Silent Hill are the king of psychological horror anymore, especially because, and I'll talk about this in another video, Silent Hill F is kind of disappointing when it comes to psychological horror. I think it's got some great moments in it, but I don't think it's the greatest horror game we've seen in the last 10 years. So Silent Hill has lost that prestige and that crown of the king of psychological horror. This brings us to probably Silent Hill's defining feature, which is that Silent Hill is about fog. Fog is the one connecting thing that connects every single Silent Hill game. It's all the way in the first game, and it's all the way up to Silent Hill F. The fog is always there. In some games, in some movies, the fog is more of a kind of creature, almost like the mist. But in most games, it exists just as set dressing. It is there to make the town spooky. It is a side effect of the Silent Hill effect, if you want to call it that. The fog in Silent Hill 2, for example, is just there as set dressing. The fog in Silent Hill F is an actual monster, a manifestation, and it seems like that's where they're taking it with the Silent Hill effect stuff from the short message. Again, you could argue it's still a side effect of whatever Silent Hill is, but the fog is really one of the few things that actually connects all of these games together. Silent Hill can essentially be summed up as an anthology series, right? It's like every story is disconnected, apart from the few that are, so 1 and 3, pretty much, and then Origins, I guess. But other than that, every game is just a different person goes to, previously Silent Hill, but now just a town, or their own town, experiences psychological horror, and fights some sort of big monster at the end. That's pretty much Silent Hill, in a nutshell now. So this brings me to my final kind of statement that I wrote down, and it was a thought that I had that really kind of tied everything together in a very cynical way. But I think it's safe to say that Silent Hill is a brand. There's no consistency to Silent Hill. It is a collection of visual and audio kind of connections. It's Fog and Akira Yamaoka's spooky music, and occasionally Masahiro Ito does a design or two, but for the most part, the actual connective tissue is barely there anymore. Silent Hill is just a name that you can slap onto any horror project and say, well, you know, it's not set in Silent Hill, and it's kind of only really got Fog in it, but, you know, what's the difference? And I felt this a lot while I was playing Silent Hill F. You know, I found parts of it that I really liked. There were parts of it that I really didn't like, and it didn't feel at any point like I was really playing a Silent Hill game. Like, if you remove the music, for example, most of these cutscenes feel like a different game entirely. And I love Ryukishi 07's writing. I'm a big fan of Higurashi, but it didn't really feel like he was making a Silent Hill game, you know? It's this weird feeling of dissonance. To explain what I mean, let's compare the most obvious comparison, which is Silent Hill and Resident Evil. Both are franchises, horror franchises that started in the 90s in Japan. Both went through kind of a dark phase in the PS3 generation. Resident Evil 6 was a complete disaster, sold really well, but messy, didn't make any sense. It kind of ruined a lot of the story, and it changed it into a much more action-focused series than the original kind of idea. Then you have a revival with Resident Evil 7, and now we're in a time period where Resident Evil 9 just came out, and it's incredible. I loved Resident Evil 9. I thought it was a fantastic game. So even when Resident Evil got bad, it was still Resident Evil. Like, it's changed over time. Resident Evil 4 was a big turning point where it focused more on the action than the horror, but Resident Evil 4 still feels like a Resident Evil game now. And now they've got these kind of two competing versions of Resident Evil, exemplified by Resident Evil 9. You've got the slow-paced horror of Grace, and you've got the fast-paced action of Leon. And, you know, Resident Evil has tons of really weird spin-offs. It's got, you know, Gun Survivor and Revelations 2, which was like an episodic experiment by Capcom. Even when the games are just completely different, you have all these connective tissues. There's always a Redfield or a Kennedy kicking about. There's always some connection to the plot. There's always Umbrella. There's always, you know, Tricell, all of these different names that pop up that makes you feel like you're kind of playing in this universe, even when the universe doesn't make sense. Like, you might not care about the plot of Resident Evil. Most people don't. It's kind of nonsensical a lot of the times. But there's always a feeling when you're playing, say, Resident Evil 8, and you find a note referencing Oswald Spencer, you go, oh, I know that guy. I remember him from Resident Evil 1. I remember him from Resident Evil 5. There's always this kind of connection that you can form, and it makes the world feel more active. It makes it feel like you're actually playing a series and not just a game that has the Resident Evil name slapped onto it. That can't be said for the Silent Hill franchise, in my opinion. At no point playing Silent Hill F do you get any indication that you are playing a game set in the same world as Silent Hill 2, or Silent Hill 3, or Silent Hill Downpour. There's no connection. Everything just feels disjointed. There's no saying that if you love Silent Hill F, that you would enjoy playing Silent Hill 2, for example. You might, like, I'm not saying it's not possible, I'm just saying there's no feeling that you're playing something cohesive. And I think the big difference between Silent Hill and Resident Evil is that Capcom have always retained control over Resident Evil. It makes sense because Capcom develop a lot more games than Konami do nowadays, but at no point did Capcom say, hey, random studio who has never made a game before, really, do you want to make Resident Evil 7? Like, no, they have in-house people working on it. They have people who are passionate about the series who want to see it continue. You've got these characters that were, you know, originally introduced in 1996 and are still being referenced in a game in 2026. Like, it's a series that clearly has a lot of love and passion behind it, and Capcom, maybe to a detrimental degree, hold on to it tightly, but I don't even think that's true, because they also have all the weird spin-offs. There's, a ton of bad Resident Evil movies, like both the live-action ones and the animated ones. They allow the series to be stupid and goofy a lot of the times, but at the end of the day, when I see the name Resident Evil on a video game, I know there's going to be a level of quality and control that doesn't necessarily apply to Silent Hill. And again, this takes us back to Silent Hill Ascension. the short message, the Return to Silent Hill movie. These are not markers of quality. In fact, I would argue that the only game announced at that, original announcement that really did what it was meant to was Silent Hill 2 Remake, which is a weird thing for me to say because I was a big doomer about the Silent Hill 2 Remake, but as far as I understand, it did very well and people are very happy with it. I was not very happy with Silent Hill F. I don't think it carries the torch of Silent Hill very well. I think it's its own thing, and that's fine, but had it been called Quiet Town F, would it have made a difference? It doesn't feel like a Silent Hill game. I'm sorry. That's my opinion. So to cap all this off, one of the comments that I found that boggled my mind was now current series producer Motoi Okamoto talking about how he wants there to be a Silent Hill game every year. And so far, that's kind of happened, right? You've got Silent Hill 2 Remake, F came out last year, Townfall I think is slated for this year, and they're probably going to announce another Silent Hill game soon. This to me reeks of overconfidence, and also, again, a clear admission that Silent Hill is nothing more than a machine at this stage. Resident Evil 8 came out in 2021 or 2022 maybe, and it took 4 years then for Requiem to come out. In the meantime, they put out a bunch of, spin-offs and stuff, and that's fine. But the point is, they take time making the new Resident Evil games. With Silent Hill, it feels like now they're just going, yeah, well, how long does it take to develop a game, pump it out, whack Silent Hill's name on it, and then, bam, you're gonna make a bunch of money. And I think it's just really short-sighted. I feel like maybe I'm crazy, but we're heading towards another oversaturation of Silent Hill. Back when the HD collection came out, Konami did this insane thing where they released, it was the HD collection, Book of Memories on the Vita, which I have played, and Downpour maybe? Downpour or Homecoming, I always get the two mixed up, but they released 3 Silent Hill games in a month. And that was basically, again, a death knell for the franchise, because none of those games did well. The HD collection was a mess, Book of Memories is atrocious, and whether it was Downpour or Homecoming, I can't remember, but again, poorly received by fans. And if you look at what's happening currently, 2 Remake worked out, but that's because it's based on Silent Hill 2. It's kind of hard to mess it up. It's one of the best games ever made. F was successful, critically, but I don't think it's going to have the staying power that a lot of these other Silent Hill games have. And then everything else they've put out is crap. It's stuff that nobody wants. It's either deliberately really bad in the case of an AI generated mess, or it's a really misguided movie adaptation of Silent Hill 2. I don't know who at Konami was like, you know what we need to follow in the footsteps of the really mediocre Silent Hill movie that no one really remembers. So I don't know. I'm trying not to be really doomy about it. I think there is still a chance that Silent Hill continues on a trajectory that is good for the fans. I'm not saying that there's no way Silent Hill will ever be good again. Again, I think there are parts of F that work. I think there's, clearly they're going to remake Silent Hill 1. That'll probably do well as well. I am optimistic about Townfall. I think Townfall could be good. But my question is, when Townfall is good, will it be good because it's a Silent Hill game? Or will it be a good game that has Silent Hill slapped onto it? To me, it's very obvious that Konami are just wielding the Silent Hill brand like a tool at this stage. You can slap it onto whatever you want and make a bunch of money. And is that where I want one of my favorite franchises of all time to be? No, obviously not. I want Silent Hill to be good, but I want it to be good because it's Silent Hill. I don't want it to be a good game that just so happens to have Silent Hill slapped on it. If the only connective tissue for all of these things is the fog, then why should I care anymore, Anyways, that's my half-scripted rambling about a franchise from 30 years ago. If you have any thoughts, please let me know. Do you think that I'm being too harsh? Do you think that Silent Hill is actually in a great place right now? I do want to hear if there are other people out there who have this connection with the franchise that also have a different opinion to me, because I believe that there's a world where someone out there loves what they're doing with Silent Hill right now, and I want to hear your thoughts on it. I am planning on making a video on Silent Hill F. Don't know whether it's going to come out next or not, because I have a lot of thoughts on Silent Hill F. I think it's going to be it would be a big video, and I originally planned on putting this out the week that the Townfall trailer came out, but then I got sick, and now here I am. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate you sticking through this video. It's a little bit different from what I normally do, but I wanted to try get a more honest, just open conversation going about this, game series that we all love. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in another video very soon.